Ready?
Wii Sports was a revolution. The ability to play games naturally by simply swinging your arms got players off the couch and enticed newcomers to join in like never before. A decade and a half later, the spell of motion controls has largely lifted, but Wii Sports is still fondly remembered as an easy way to have fun with the whole family. While it could never gain the same kind of buzz as the original, Nintendo Switch Sports succeeds in recapturing the joy of past titles. However, the overall package feels a bit light for its asking price. There are 6 sports to partake in: volleyball, badminton, bowling, soccer, tennis, and chambara, a form of sword fighting. For some quirky Nintendo reason, golf is included in the price, but won't be available to download until later this year. Each sport has its own particular control scheme, although most can be played one-handed. Every player will certainly have their favorites, but it's hard to deny that bowling still feels the best as you swing your arm and twist your wrist to curve the ball just right. Playing Switch Sports and adjusting to the motion controls takes a bit of patience and willingness to meet the technology halfway. When you first start, it's easy to feel like inputs are less reliable simply because your own movements may be erratic, mistimed, or your arm isn't really doing what you think it's doing. While some players may choose to sit and waggle, you really can find more success by getting into the role and delivering a full swing. It's not fully one-to-one, and timing is generally more important than precise direction, but there's more nuance here than it first seems. The more time you put in, the more you'll find yourself able to aim a volleyball where you want it to go or block an opponent's attack. One reason that it takes practice, though, is that some of the subtleties aren't particularly well explained. In some cases, you do get feedback that tells you that your movement was too early or too late, but in other circumstances, such as badminton, you may fall on your face repeatedly without having a clue what you're doing wrong. You swung too early. It makes sense to keep the basic tutorials brief to get friends in on the action as soon as possible, but there are a lot of important techniques like putting spin on a tennis ball or moving your character around a volleyball court that are only communicated via tips during loading screens. A simple reference guide for these advanced pointers would do wonders. While most of the games simply have you mimic the motions of the real thing, soccer is a bit more involved. With the left Joy-Con, you use the analog stick to move your character around the field and hold the trigger to dash. Meanwhile, you swing the controller in your right hand to kick in various directions, and you use the right stick for camera control. With so much going on, it's the trickiest to get used to, and it's easy to find yourself panic swinging and knocking the ball in the wrong direction. However, once you get more comfortable, and particularly when you get in sync with a full team in 4-on-4 matches online, it can feel really rewarding to move the ball down the field and score a goal. Beyond the standard options, there are a few variations to mix things up. Chambara allows you to pick between 3 different sword types: a standard sword, a sword that charges when you block, and a pair of twin swords. Special bowling is super fun, placing random obstacles in lanes to push you out of your comfort zone. There might be blocks moving up and down, pinball-style flippers, ramps, bumps, pits, or half-pipes. Higher difficulties make these obstacles even more extreme, really making things unpredictable. For soccer, there's a shootout mode, which requires you to use the leg strap that comes with the physical edition of Switch Sports, which costs $10 more. Or you can use the leg strap from Ring Fit Adventure if you own that. The mode itself is a quick kicking contest, and while it's a fun diversion, it does feel less intuitive than the rest. Since the Joy-Con is strapped to your thigh, it often registers the motion before you kick, as soon as you raise your leg. As a result, it's easier to do well if you knee the ball rather than kicking. Since the original Wii Sports was a pack-in launch game utilizing technology in an all-new way, it makes sense that it didn't have a lot of options, but for a sequel that costs $40 to $50, it's surprising that there isn't more to do in the single-player mode of Switch Sports. You can go up against more difficult AI, but every time you choose a sport, it's a single isolated match. There's no progression to work through here at all. It would be great if there were branches of opponents to overcome, or different locations to tour, or additional mini-games to play with each set of mechanics, but as is, playing alone just feels like a chance to practice before going online.
Survival bowling.
Of course, going up against real people, whether they're in your living room or across the country, is far more fun and satisfying anyways. There's such a heightened sense of trying to read what your opponent is doing and attempting to throw them off their game. Long back-and-forth rallies in tennis and badminton increase the tension, and there's a surge of fulfillment when you come back and win from behind. Likewise, when you coordinate with a partner in volleyball, it can feel really good to get those combos that enable faster spikes. Online connections are stable overall, but it's disappointing that there's no rematch feature if you come across an opponent you'd like to challenge for a second round. Bowling Online is particularly interesting because it employs a knockout system for up to 16 players. Every few frames, the lowest competitors get eliminated, so it's an accomplishment just to make it to the final round. And oh boy, the lineup of opponents you're likely to match up with after dinner time don't leave any margin for error.
Yes!
Online play does feature rewards and progression to keep you coming back, although the features are a bit lackluster. First of all, there are sets of gifts to unlock, basically a free version of a battle pass. Every online match nets you points for your accomplishments, and for every 100 points, you get random gifts, including emotes, titles, hairstyles, hats, etc. These are separated into themed sets and are only available for a limited time, encouraging you to keep playing to fill out each card so you can get to the bonus outfits before they disappear. It's a familiar concept, but it might have more appeal if the base character creator wasn't completely devoid of options. When you first start, the number of choices you have is absolutely paltry, and it's unlikely you'll be able to make a character that looks anything like you. Since there's next to nothing available by default, many of the unlockables are boring basic stuff like a pair of glasses or a different eye color. It's no surprise then that a lot of players just avoid the new characters altogether and continue using their Miis, which were such a big part of Wii Sports back in the day. Additionally, if you do find yourself playing online a lot, there's a ranking system called the Pro Leagues to keep you in the mix with opponents at your skill level. Once you've unlocked the Pro League for a sport, you'll see a bar raised toward the next rank at the end of each match. The biggest frustration is just how opaque getting that initial invite can be. Until you unlock a Pro League, there's no way to know the feature even exists. Each sport is tracked separately, which makes sense, but you can play a single sport for hours without any idea how close you are to unlocking the feature. Nintendo Switch Sports is a tricky one to consider. It's as fun as the series has ever been, and online interactions ensure that you have a reason to keep playing between holidays. If all you're looking for is the chance to bowl with your family without pulling out an aging Wii, Switch Sports is great, if overpriced. It could just use more sports, more minigames, more progression, more cosmetics, and so on. There are so many ways that the concept could be expanded upon and made more robust without sacrificing its simplicity.
3-5. Match over.
Final score, 6.5 out of 10. All our reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. Check out patreon.com/EasyAllies to keep Easy Allies going and get access to exclusive shows like Trash Babies, where we pass the controller dumpster diving through low-rated games.